This is cold-blooded murder of men, women, even children. It is terrorism.
I'm deeply concerned by the scenes that we've seen over the last few days. Women and children, young babies, being kidnapped by terrorists. It is appalling.
The government prescribed Palestine action last month after activists broke into a military base and sprayed 2 RAF planes with red paint,
Causing, according to the government, £7 million worth of damage.
I do understand there will be people who do not know, who are wanting to protest, who do not know what the nature of this group is. Let's be clear, this is not about Palestine or protesting about Palestine. This is about a particular narrow, specific group that has both a violent record and information and about future planning as well. More of that information is likely to be revealed.
We can complete this war with minimised casualties. We are trying to do our best to minimise casualties.
11,000 dead.
Some of them are terrorists, as you know.
Not all of them.
We're not targeting civilians. We're just targeting.
What percentage do you think are terrorists?
I believe over 50%. And going back to your own history, when you fight Nazi Germany, you knew that there were many, many civilians got attacked from your attacks on German cities. Dresden was a symbol, but you attacked Hamburg, you attacked other cities, and altogether it was over 600,000 civilian Germans that got killed. And was it worth it in order to defeat Nazi Germany? And the answer was yes.
This is not about the lawful right to protest. There are many ways for people to protest, to say their views. And there's also a lot of people who feel rightly very strongly about some of the appalling scenes we've seen happening in Gaza and the West Bank. But this is about whether there's action against our national security in the UK where we have to have proper safeguards in place.
Vice President Vance.
That's right.
Indeed. But here in Kent, there are beautiful, beautiful coastal walks and beaches, castles, the home of Churchill, and this house has been sitting here since the 17th century. So welcome, we're delighted to have you.
Some big issues in the Middle East. What do you make of the UK's decision to recognise the state of Palestine? Do you think that's a bad decision?
Well, it's one of the things that we're going to talk about. Obviously, the United Kingdom is going to make its decision. We have no plans to recognize a Palestinian state. I don't know what it would mean to really recognize a Palestinian state, given the lack of a functional government there.
Foreign Secretary, the UK has taken a different tack on the situation in Palestine and the United States. Do you feel that your friendship with the Vice President might help, have a discussion about ceasefire?
You know, Prime Minister Starmer is either meeting or discussing these issues with President Trump on a weekly basis, and I am doing the same with Secretary of State Rubio or Vice President Vance. And the truth is, what we all want to see is a ceasefire. What we all want to see are the hostages come out. 1,300 people dead, murdered, babies.
If we do not get the ceasefire we're all praying for in the coming weeks.
We have to get the ceasefire.
But if that is not the case, and we see the abomination that you've described in the intolerable continuation of the situation in Gaza, will the government go further to take measures against Israel?
Yes. Yes, we will.
This time last year, I stood on this stage and I made a commitment. So let me pay tribute to the people in this hall who made that difference.
We are allies of the Israelis. If they were to ask us to deploy our assets in support of their operations, would we?
Well, as I said, we haven't been involved, and I'm not going to get involved in sort of operational decisions for the future. This is a fast-moving situation. Israel has every right to defend itself. What we've done in the past, as you know, Trevor, is help protect Israel from incoming strikes, so a defensive activity. I would do so as the first female Chancellor of the Exchequer. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel has a right to exist. Israel has been attacked by terrorists.
I understand that. And are you happy to have different views in your party? Or is there a very firm line? If you want to be in Labour, you have to say Hamas are clearly terrorists. Israel has a right to defend itself. To be in Labour, do you have to hold that view?
Well, yes. I'm one of the vice chairs of Labour Friends of Israel. I'm deeply concerned by the scenes that we've seen over the last few days. 800 years the post of Chancellor of the Exchequer has existed. Everyone a man. On the 5th of July, we made history. I can tell you today that I am so proud that our Women's Parliamentary Labour Party is bigger than the entire Conservative Parliamentary Party.
Justifies a death toll, according to research by US medical professionals who have worked in Gaza, has now surpassed 118,000, as well as the 2,000 people killed in Lebanon. And will he do what is morally and legally right and end the government's complicity in war crimes by banning all arms sales to Israel, including F-35 fighter jets, not just 30 licenses, yes or no?
No. The appalling scenes in Gaza are unrelenting.
But it is a really serious point. Banning all sales would mean none for defensive purposes.
It's completely unjustifiable.
None for defensive purposes on the anniversary of October the 7th.
It is a humanitarian catastrophe, and it must end. There are ongoing situations with hostages, and Israel has the right to do everything that it can to get those hostages back safe and sound. We've announced an extra 40 million this year, but that help is not getting in. So we're scaling up our work. I'm encouraged by the new coalition government, including an Israeli Arab party.
It's a map.
Labour welcomes the Abraham Accords and the growing diplomatic normalisation between Israel and its Arab neighbours, alongside our closest allies. I am working on a pathway to peace in the region. Therefore, I'm very clear, Israel must have that, does have that right to defend herself, and Hamas bears responsibility.
A siege is appropriate? Cutting off power, cutting off water? Sakir?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. It is an ongoing situation. Obviously, everything should be done within international law.
The UK has a legal duty to uphold international law. Why then did he block the arrest of an unindicted war criminal?
I didn't. But I don't want to step away from the sort of core principles that Israel has a right to defend herself. I'm delighted to be able to send this message, to send my support to Labour Friends of Israel, and to thank you for the important work that you do.
You've spoken very fondly and warmly about Israel. In Israel, as you know...
Well, we have extended family there.
Of course,
From the very first day of my leadership, I've made it my top priority to tackle the poison of anti-Semitism.
So as you'll know, citizens of Arab origin are represented throughout society, all the way up to being represented in government, Arab ministers in government. And yet Amnesty International recently released a report where they accused Israel of being an apartheid state. That was embraced and supported by many members of your party, particularly on the left. Do you agree with them?
No.
Israel divided the identification card into 4 types. Each type suffers from limitations. Israeli ID with an Israeli passport. It's issued to the Palestinians who are living within the 1948 borders. Blue ID, which is an Israeli identity that the occupation granted by coercion to the residents of East Jerusalem after the Six-Day War. Green ID is issued to the Palestinians of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. It imposes restrictions and limitations of movement for its holder.
I've been very clear about that, and that is not the Labour Party position. So I was very clear, I think, in my comments to Labour Friends of Israel exactly where I stand on most of the major issues that obviously and understandably concern people in Israel and beyond Israel. So I was able to address a number of those issues in that speech.
And will you make those same points at party conference this year?
Yes, I've got no reason not to. I was on the platform when we made the rule change at last year's party conference in relation to the way that we would deal with complaints of anti-Semitism. Now, I look forward to visiting Israel with LFI as soon as possible. It's a top priority for me. Thank you again to Steve and everyone in the LFI for the crucial role you play in our party. Enjoy your evening.
Labour Party members who are being asked to vote for you should know who's bankrolling your campaign.
That is why the Labour Party set up those rules.
But you won't tell us. The other candidates in this contest have published who is bankrolling their campaign. You seem to be hiding behind this process. Why won't you simply tell us tonight who are your 5 biggest donors?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm really privileged to be part of it.
Of maximum impact.
Why does he think it's okay for the UK to continue to sell Israel the equipment for the fighter jets to drop bombs on these starving children?
What we contribute into a pot is parts for fighter jets. And if we were to stop that, they couldn't be used by other countries in the other conflicts, including those in which we are involved. Doesn't know the details. They're not sold directly, they go into a pot. If we were to stop that, they wouldn't then be available to others around the world who desperately need them in the conflicts they're engaged in. And that must always be our ultimate goal.
Yeah. How many more children in Palestine have to die before you call for a ceasefire?
Over 7,000 children have died. Over 7,000 children have been slaughtered by Israel. This is unacceptable. What happened to human rights? What happened to democracy? We call for peace, we call for democracy. We don't see any of that when it comes to the Palestinians. 7,000 children, how many more have to die? 20,000 people, how many more people have to die? This is unacceptable. Where is your humanity? Where is your humanity?
So will now the Prime Minister finally acknowledge that ethnic cleansing is underway and to end all UK military cooperation with Israel, especially the illegal provision of F-35 fighter jet parts? Or will he risk make Britain complicit in war crimes and be the Prime Minister to see Britain answer at The Hague for its role in this atrocity?
Most of what he says is simply not right. Returning to the ceasefire, getting the hostages out and humanitarian aid in that is desperately needed in greater number and more quickly.
While I understand calls for a ceasefire at this stage, I do not believe that it is the correct position now.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages, and a recommitment to the two-state solution, now and for the long term.